you all for coming. I'm gonna get started. So failure is an option, but it's what you do after that really matters. So when I was in high school, I was a cross-country runner. In my first ever race, I came in dead last, 10 minutes behind the person in front of me. But by my senior year, I was running on the varsity team. In high school, I was getting C's and D's in my English courses, but by my senior year, I was getting A's and B's in my advanced level classes. In college, I failed to make connections with people in my major, but by the end of my time there, I made connections with people outside my major that are very special to me. And all these stories share something in common. They all could have stopped at that first sentence, that initial failure. But it's okay to fail, because it's what comes after it that's important. So first I'm going to talk about how failure is a part of our lives. That's my belief, my attitude that being resilient in the face of failure can lead to change, and my value that that change can become personal growth. So now thinking about failure being a part of life, there's a quote from Captain Picard that really sums that up, that it is possible to commit no mistake and still lose. That is not weakness, that is life. And it's true, trying to go through life without ever making a mistake or ever failing, it's impossible, especially the fact that we ourselves define what our failures are. Those 3 stories at the start that I gave, those are my failures. I define them that way. It also doesn't help that we tend to focus on our own failures rather than our strength. We think all about how we tried really hard, we did the best that we could, but we still failed. We see it as a lack of control that we have over our choices. But we do have a choice. We do have control. When we fail, we can do something about it. And that leads to my attitude, that being resilient in the face of failure can lead to change. Now, those 3 stories that I mentioned at the beginning, how I said before, they all could have stopped at that first sentence, but they didn't, because I was resilient in the face of failure. I decided to keep going, to try again, to do something different, because if I didn't, if I just given up and stopped, I would have stayed the same. But by trying again, it allows for opportunities to change. Changes can be big or they can be small. And the thing that's a common misconception about this change, about being resilient in the face of failure, is many think that they have to do it on their own, by themselves, but that's not true. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's not a bad thing, it's actually really good. Being able to recognize your own limits and to see where somebody else might be strong and where you might be weak is okay. For me, the story about not being able to make connections with people in my own major, that was something I needed help with. I even needed professional help with that one. And that kind of leads into my value of where these changes can become growth. So that help that I got, the first thing that I was shown, was that change didn't need to be big or drastic or all at once. That it can be small things, step by step. Then over time, those little changes become big change. And that big change becomes growth. For me, it allowed me to be happier about myself, more confident in who I was, and allowed me to live a life that's more true to myself. And all of that started because I made little changes. And those changes were because I was resilient in the face of failure, and started in the first place because I failed. So to wrap everything up, my belief is that failure is a part of our lives. My attitude is that being resilient in the face of failure can lead to change. And my value is that change can become personal growth. And to close it all out with, I want to paraphrase a quote from Rocky Balboa, where he talks about life and failure. So life will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Because that's how winning is done. Thank you.
All right.